We gave the council no choice but to do this. We were not stopping until this was closed. Well done, the people of Epping. Well done those that backed us. Well done those that stuck their head above the parapet and felt uncomfortable and did something they'd never done before and protested. People power got the Bell Hotel shut, not the authorities, not the council and not the MPs.
Breaking today. Celebrations all over Essex. Ground zero of the Migrant Hotel uprising after this extraordinary court decision this afternoon, which was tried to be scuppered at the last minute by the despicable Home Office and the even more unpatriotic Yvette Cooper. But congratulations to the judge holding firm and saying that the Bell Hotel in Epping must be closed. All of those illegals must be out of there within 24 days. And what's brilliant is that this story, which has been routinely ignored by the captured and corrupt mainstream media, with this one court decision, has been thrust to the top of the news agenda, whether they like it or not. Watch.
BBC News, and we start with breaking news, news that Epping Forest District Council in the south of England has just been granted a temporary High Court injunction blocking asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel. That judgment has just come in the last few moments.
Some breaking news now. And in the last couple of minutes, the High Court has granted an injunction for Epping Forest District Council to temporarily block asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel in Essex.
A very significant development. The judge here at the High Court has just ruled that Epping Forest District Council can be granted an injunction blocking the use of the Bell Hotel in Epping for use as an asylum seeker hotel.
This is a victory for people power. This is a victory, and oh my goodness, it touches me, for the mums and the grandmums and actually the daughters of Essex who were able to prove through patriotic and peaceful scenes like this that there was no connection to the so-called far right, the invisible far right with these protests. This was a movement of ordinary patriots rising up and saying enough is enough. Enough is enough. Why on earth should our daughters, should our 14-year-olds be allegedly sexually assaulted by migrants arriving off small boats within 8 days? Because remember, that was the incident that sparked what has become a national movement. And trust me, people are listening to this decision, and it is going to wake people up and down the country. Rupert Lowe responding today, writing on X, the head of Restore Britain, don't just close the Bell Hotel and disperse the illegals into the community or move them to another town. Close the Bell Hotel and deport every single one of them. Do that across the country and stop the boats overnight. Fact. This is all just so painfully obvious. And painfully obvious it may be, but it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative Party leader, has also decided to weigh in, writing good news and a victory for the mums and dads I spoke to in Epping who just want their children to be safe. Putting a hotel full of young, male, illegal immigrants in the middle of a community like Epping was always going to lead to issues. They need to be moved out of the area immediately. But Epping is just one of many towns struggling with these asylum hotels. Labour have no solutions. They're not smashing any gangs, and small boat arrivals are at record highs. I do have a plan. Bring back a proper deterrent and remove all illegal arrivals immediately so towns like Epping never have to deal with this again. And I was particularly touched by the Reform UK councillor Jamie McIver, because Jamie has done an incredible job. We have been covering the story like the rest of the independent media before anyone in the mainstream touched it, but Jamie was there even though Reform UK bosses had warned their councillors to stay away. And he wrote powerfully on X today, "Thank you, Epping mums. You will be remembered in history. I'm so proud of you all." I'm going to give that a retweet. But how out of touch is our mainstream media? Because they want to misrepresent what happened in Epping altogether. Chris Rose has pointed out this afternoon that The Guardian is not happy with the working class locals in Epping and the fact that they won. Because listen to how The Guardian characterised the protests outside the Bell Hotel. Asylum seekers are to be removed from a hotel that has attracted repeated far-right demonstrations after a High Court judge granted a temporary injunction blocking them from being housed there. To my superstar panel, Based and Bougie and Steph the Alter Nerd. Steph, seriously, how on earth does The Guardian live with themselves? How can they see those pictures of mothers, of young teenage girls worried about their safety, of grandmothers, of dads who are so concerned that they can no longer let their youngsters walk to school, and deride the people who we are seeing on screen as far right? I think it's despicable. I think they are disgusting. And it shows the fight that we have ahead, given we have a mainstream media that is still, even now, even when they've seen these protests with their own eyes, prepared to be so intellectually dishonest to protect the regime. Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
Yeah, the mainstream media at this point, as far as I'm concerned, only has one purpose, which is exactly what you said there, to protect the regime, or as I like to put it, to protect Keir Starmer's dictatorship, to be the mouthpiece for Keir Starmer and his dictatorship, because at the end of the day, we will not forgive and we will not forget. The British people in this country will remember the institutions that stood behind us as we are fighting for what we have culturally now,
did not
but
support.
also for our future as well. It is as simple as that. And if the mainstream media don't get on board quick with the actual sentiment that is here now in the UK with British people, well, as far as I'm concerned, they've just signed their own death warrant, and mainstream media is going to die faster than any of us ever anticipated.
Yeah, very true. Based and Bougie, what's your take on this decision? Because, of course, I have described Epping as the ground zero of this hotel uprising. We've seen the peaceful protests spread to other communities. Surely those communities and those councils are now going to be inspired by these incredible scenes and are going to want the same result.
Well, first and foremost, I think this is not just a victory for the Epping community or victory for patriots or victory for mums. This is a victory for safety, because that's what it's always been about. It's always been about protecting our children from foreigners who believe it's okay to just casually assault a child. And mind you, one of the children who was assaulted was a black woman. So this just goes to show that this has nothing to do with race and has everything to do with safety. Now, the next question is, where are they going to move these migrants? Where are they going to move them? Because if you read the article clearly states that the hotel is going to be temporarily blocked. But wherever they move them, I promise you, I will find that hotel as well, and I'll be protesting outside.
Indeed. Adam Brooks, who has been at ground zero as part of the independent media contingent, but for him, this was a particular passion project, given he is a local, an Epping local, has just released this video. Watch.
By the High Court. But let's just remember, the council, the local council, did not back our protests, did not support us, did not turn up. Our local MP did not turn up, did not support us. We forced the council into this action. The truthful reporting from the ground, myself and others put it out there in the mainstream media, and thankfully people like GB News and Talk TV and all those reported it truthfully. Well done to everyone that turned up and protested, especially the women and children, especially the pink movement, the pink ladies, well done. We gave the council no choice but to do this. We were not stopping until this was closed. Well done, the people of Epping. Well done, those that backed us. Well done, those that stuck their head above the parapet and felt uncomfortable and did something they'd never done before and protested. People power got the Bell Hotel shut, not the authorities, not the council and not the MPs. An amazing decision by the...
I think that's completely true, actually, because when you think about it, Steph, actually, the council was a Conservative council. They really did only follow suit. I would argue the mainstream media, including GB News and Talk TV, only decided to cover this when they saw the incredible scenes on the independent media on a daily basis. But I knew when I was the first to lead my show on this story all of those weeks ago that the people of Essex would not back down. And of course, what we saw on the first night of so-called violent protests, Steph, actually was that the police were trying to facilitate violent thugs in terms of the Antifa activists who they were shipping in, escorting in, and then taking away in the buses. And I think after the police were shamed and after the hard left were shamed, effectively, it was left to the locals. And guess what, Steph? After that shameful incident from the Epping Essex police, have we seen any violence? No. Totally peaceful. But first, this episode of Outspoken is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. And I'm very excited to say the heat has officially arrived overseas. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in the white hot special edition colorway from Manscaped, now available across the UK, Europe, and Australia too. Now, this is the same trimmer trusted by millions of men down below, now with a clean white and gold finish that looks just as smooth as it shaves. And it isn't just a pretty face. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is built to handle your most sensitive areas with care, helping reduce the risk of nicks, cuts, and irritation where it matters most. So whether you're cleaning things up for a date, a trip, or just to feel a bit more put together, the white hot trimmer makes below the waist grooming a whole lot smoother, literally. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. And let me tell you, the ladies in the Outspoken audience would really do well as using this as a fail-safe gift for your boyfriend, your husband, your son, your brother, your hard-to-buy-for best mate, because the blades are designed to glide over the skin with less tug and pull, helping the bloke in your life avoid the usual redness or irritation that comes with low-quality groomers. It's simple, it's effective, it doesn't require a whole routine. Just pick it up, clean up, and move on. Whether you're using it in the shower, on the glow, or standing over the sink before a night out, the White Hot 5.0 Ultra fits into your day without getting in the way. Plus, the white and gold design actually looks so good, I don't think you'd want to be hiding this away in the bottom drawer, right? White hot looks, smooth results. The White Hot 5.0 Ultra brings the heat without cooking your skin. It's sleek, easy to use, and way less terrifying than whatever you were using before. Use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with the code Outspoken at manscaped.com. But now, back to the show.
No, and as far as I'm concerned, that was the aim of the institutions and the police when they did ship in the lefties, the wokes, and Antifa. What did they think was going to happen? The two sides were going to protest on one end of the street and the other end of the street, and everything was going to be hunky-dory? No. The left, Antifa, they're there. They were there to antagonise. And the institutions and the police, as far as I'm concerned, knew that they were going to antagonise. So ship them over there in the first place to bait us. But thank goodness we didn't take the bait, that we are smarter than that. Now, one thing, because this is developing news and absolutely breaking, my mate, Black Belt Barrister on YouTube, his name's Dan, and he's just quoted part of, it looks like a response from the Home Office saying the Home Office had warned the decision would substantially impact its ability to house asylum seekers in hotels across the UK. Well, firstly, no shiz, Sherlock. And secondly, good. There is no room for these illegal immigrants to be in this country in the first place.
Yes, you're totally right.
Depart.
You're totally right, Steph. And actually, I've got their response here via Stephen Swinford of The Times, who writes, the Home Office has suggested that its entire policy of housing asylum seekers in hotels is at risk after Epping Forest Council was granted an injunction by the High Court. The council has been granted a temporary injunction, but the Home Office warned at the hearing today that similar applications made elsewhere would then aggravate pressures on the asylum estate. It said that injunction applications could become a new norm adopted by local authorities, and here's what makes me really angry, Based and Bougie, runs the risk of acting as an impetus for further violent protests. They are gaslighting us. Where were the violent protests in Epping, Essex? What we've seen for weeks and weeks and weeks is peaceful patriots, mums, dads, grandfathers, granddaughters, daughters themselves on the streets. We've seen nothing violence. The violence was sparked by Antifa and encouraged by the police. So how dare the Home Office go into court and lie? They are sick.
So holding the Union Jack is violent. Holding a sign that says protect our children is violent. But yet the stand up to racism, attacking people and screaming in people's faces is not violent. The illegal migrants that are assaulting children is not violent. This is absolutely insane. And what's such a shame about this whole situation is the fact that the UK used to be the beacon of equality. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, what culture you come from. Over here in the UK, you are treated as an equal. But we can clearly see that there's a two-tier system here. Because how is it, like I generally, it hurts my head even thinking about it. How is it that wanting to protect your child means that you are a violent, far-right individual? How is it that being anti-rape makes you a far-right individual? People have lost their common sense. People have lost their mind. And I feel like this country is falling apart so badly. And we are literally entering the dark ages that we cannot just sit down and admit that these illegal migrants keep making up majority, no, not majority, but they keep making up a huge sum of these assaults towards young girls. And somebody needs to do something about it. But since our government and the establishment does not want to do something about it, we have to go out on the streets and we need to protest.
Of
and
course,
yet they're calling us violent.
Because what they have tried to do for a very long time is cover up the truth, as you rightly point out, Based and Bougie, which is that when you break down these numbers per capita, the violence being committed by the illegals, the criminals who are here illegally, is off the scale in comparison to the native population. And the reality is that these examples of violence are only getting worse. We see the arrests happening, we see the charges happening virtually every single day. So they cannot cover up the crime anymore. So what they try and do, Steph, is instead pretend that the real threat, the real crime, is from the patriots protesting peacefully outside the hotels. So that's why I think we have to not give them what they want, Steph. What they want is violence. And I think we've also got to be very suspicious about the behaviour of the police outside of these hotels. Why at Canary Wharf over the weekend, for example, were they only enforcing the no mask policy on the patriotic side of the street, yet the Antifa thugs were all able to have their face covers? Why was it that they were only unnecessarily arresting the protests? My argument here, Steph, and I know some people will call me a conspiracy theorist, but trust me on this, okay? My argument is that it suits the establishment, it suits the government, it suits the police for there to be violence outside of these hotels. That is what they want. They want to encourage it because they are making this argument in court.
Absolutely. The other thing I would say is don't forget the Conservatives in all of this. Now, quite rightly so, there's a lot of anger towards Keir Starmer and his dictatorship, right? Because they're the ones that are in power. But let's not forget, the Conservatives were in power 12, 13 years before Keir Starmer took the reins on all of this. So this has been a build-up of 12, 13 years of the Conservative government also failing us. So Kemi Badenoch and the rest of them, right, turning around and saying, oh, this is a win. Thankfully now the Bell Hotel has been closed down to illegal immigrants, blah, 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 blah. Do you know what? They can shut the hell up, sit down and just be out of this narrative, because they've created this mess just as much as the Labour government. And for them to be like, oh, we're on the side of the British people, this, that and the other. Well, where were they for the last 12, 13 years when they were in power? They weren't on the side of us. They were creating this environment that Keir Starmer and his dictatorship now have been able to take full advantage of, which is to let just everyone in at this point, regardless if they rape our children, attack us women. No, it don't matter, because they've now been able to get a situation here now where the illegal immigrants have more rights than us. The illegal immigrants, right, and those that are not British have more rights to wave their own damn flag than we've got to wave our flag in our own country. It's insane.
Totally.
So the Conservatives can sit down as well and be out of this narrative. It's not a win for them.
Totally. I mean, I love your passion, and you're so right, because you look at the way that these enemy flags are policed, which is non-existent. They're not policed at all. And you're so right that those people actually have more rights than us. It's very shocking. I guess the one exception that I would make, Steph, and you may not agree, but is Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick, because both of those individuals, and remember, I've been very clear, I don't think I could ever vote for the Conservative Party again after their betrayal. So this is not in support of the Conservative Party. But both of those individuals quit government, quit their roles as ministers because of the despicable policies that were allowing this to happen. And both became the most senior politicians in the country to actually attend the hotel migrant protests. Suella Braverman did so in Waterlooville. Robert Jenrick did so in Epping, Essex. I do give them credit for that, Steph, because remember, Reform UK were banning their senior members from attending these protests. So they are my two exceptions. Others might disagree, but I do think they've done good work on this.
I do get why you're saying those two are the exceptions. My problem with them, though, is this. Suella Braverman, for example, she was the Home Secretary. She had all the power in the world to be able to stop the boats and stop this from happening in the first place. And she somehow didn't. I'd really want to drill down on that and really ask why. Really get into the nitty-gritty. Because let's put it this way, right? The illegal immigrants in the UK aren't actually technically classed as illegal immigrants by Border Force. They're classed as arriving passengers. That's why when they come to the UK, they don't get done for being an illegal immigrant, because their status is automatically changed to arriving passengers. Well, who put that in the first place? Who put that into the rules in the first place? It was the Conservative government. And so, yeah, to a certain extent, I do give Robert Jenrick and Suella Braverman, you know, a few snaps and claps for what they're doing for the movement. Don't get me wrong, but when they were in power, they just simply didn't do enough. And I'd want to know why.
Very good question. And I do think you are right. The Conservatives cannot be forgiven, and it's a very, very difficult position for them. But I will call out people that are prepared to put their own neck on the line, because what we actually need is almost the mainstreaming of what's going on, because you've seen the mainstream media want to describe these protests, The Guardian even doing it today, as far right. And that's where I think we've got to say nonsense, absolute nonsense. But look, we celebrate today. Well done, Patriots of Essex. I said right back on the first show, you know, I have a real connection with Essex because I'm actually an Essex boy. My mum was born in Billericay, and my whole mum's side of the family is from Essex. And I said on that very first episode, all of those weeks ago, they've messed with the wrong people. It is the people of Essex who will not take this lying down, but will do this with a sense of class that will make it impossible for the media to ignore. And that is what's happened. Congratulations, I salute you, and let's do this in some other communities. But of course, we are all very clear that the battle has only just begun.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.